Hey, Riley Besties, welcome back to the Writing with Anna new podcast where we talk about all things writing. In today's episode, we are going to get into 10 ways to get book ideas. Yeah, I'm literally going to tell you guys how to get book ideas because in the past, I've done lots and lots of videos about giving you guys free book ideas. Go check that out if you guys want. But I think it's better to teach a man how to fish instead of just giving them the fish, if you know what I mean. So I'm going to be sharing, 10 ways I get my book ideas. And throughout the list, the first couple are quite like normal, quite self-explanatory. And then as we go down the line, down the list, more specific. So make sure you watch this whole episode and listen in. So let's go ahead and stop wasting your time and get into the 10 ways to get book ideas. Let's get into it. Okay. So the first way is the way I get most of my book ideas, and it's simply through Pinterest. I adore Pinterest so much. Like I can just simply have like one photo and I have a book idea running through my mind. And it's a little bit more difficult. It depends on what sort of picture you see, but usually just go for your like page, or maybe if you have a sort of theme idea in mind, just type up a sort of aesthetic, and I promise you will get something triggered in your brain. Usually for me, it comes with characters or particular scenes, but you can also get inspired by symbols. You can get inspired by particular places, like particular items. Yeah, just like basically anything. If there's a photo, there's a story behind it. So this is, basically how I get a lot of my book ideas. I love Pinterest so much. If you're not on Pinterest and you're a writer, are you really a writer? I'm sure you guys know Pinterest. The second way is, of course, through movies, TV shows, and books. This is kind of like the main medium of storytelling. All of these ways are very, yeah, it's obvious how you get book ideas from this. Usually you can come up with like similar sort of stories or story spin-offs from these sorts of um, plots. I really do think that subconsciously I get inspired by these sorts of movies, these stories, these books quite subconsciously. And it's a weird thing because I only realize what parts of my books are inspired by these stories once I finish my book or like finish planning it. Then I can say like, oh wait, that's kind of similar to this book and that's how I got that idea. So like it's kind of like a conglomerate of all of the sort of media that you've consumed. And it's kind of a good excuse just to watch watch movies really. But movies truly are a great way to get inspired to write and get new book ideas because, they're book ideas in themselves. The third thing is one of my favorite ones. I think it's more unknown or kind of, I don't know. I think it's more beautiful and poetic to get inspired by songs and songwriting. To me, lyrics are my favorite thing. Like I adore dissecting lyrics, listening to lyrics. Some of my favorite artists are very, very beautiful writers like Phoebe Bridges. I adore like C Rose. I've been listening to a lot. And whenever they come out with a new song or I'm just listening to their really old stuff, no matter what, there's always a book idea. For example, I got inspired by Doing Time by Lana Del Rey, which is such a vibe. Y'all gotta listen to that song because like my cyberpunk book is literally everything in that song. And I have a new video that's coming out with me planning it and kind of talking more about that. But I love, love, love it when I'm listening to a song and you see a scene play out in your mind. And that's your book idea. That's your premise. That's your characters, whatever. Like it's pretty easy. I don't know. It's difficult. It definitely needs to have like be a particular song. But if it clicks in your mind and you want to pursue that book idea, pursue it. And just listen to your favorite song if you want, because wouldn't it be cool to like say like this book is based off my favorite song? I'm sold. Okay, the fourth way to get inspired to write new book ideas is through friends or family stories. Maybe your grandma has a really cool story about her time as a youth. Maybe your friends, I don't know, have a crazy story, or you just want to write about them, or maybe they just like become a character in your head, inspired. Yeah, just kind of think about the stories around you, like physically, and the stories that you've heard, stories that are a part of your family, part of your real life. I feel like that's really a fun way to kind of get really deep into the meaning of writing, how it's just like retelling stories from people and their pasts. And I think it's just a really beautiful way to kind of get story ideas, or at least like scene ideas, plot beats, and stuff like that. So listen up and don't talk too much about your book ideas. Let people talk about their own lives once in a while. Okay. Um. Next up we have number 5, which is, I don't know what I wrote. Like my handwriting's not very good. But it's kind of like, oh yeah, interesting topics that you're inspired by or just like interested in. For example, I wanted to write like a short story based on Chernobyl because I learned about Chernobyl in one of my classes in modern history, and I was just like super inspired by that sort of historical event. And I'm just like, damn, that's a really interesting topic. But that can be whatever. Like, that kind of actually goes into one of my other tips about yeah, places and themes in history, or events in history. So I guess that's one of them. But another one also, number 6, is like just topics, just like fables, like different sort of things that can really like, yeah, really inspire you. This can also be like retellings, for example, but just maybe changing a couple things, basically keeping a retelling the same. There's lots and lots of retellings these days, which are really, really cool. And a good example, I know it's not a book, but like Shrek is like such a cool way to like, of these like so many different fables, so many different like fun stories into one big thing. And it's a sort of parody, which I adore. It's like so, so fun. So if you ever get like inspired by any other like topics, ideas, maybe you're interested in stars, maybe you're interested in rocks, maybe you're interested in insects. I don't know. Think about those sorts of things, of what you're really like, and then kind of make it into a book. Another example, maybe if it kind of helps you get more ideas, is Project Orchestra, which is a historical fiction of mine. I was very much wanting to tell a story through music, which is really difficult. And I wanted to tell a story of like writers or artists. And it's kind of hard to write a book, about a writer. So I wrote it instead about a musician or musicians, which was really cool. So like music has always become like an interesting means of me wanting to tell a sort of theme. And I guess that's another way also that I didn't have on the list for some reason. But think about what you want to tell, and like what sort of purpose your story you want to serve. What sort of, man, my grammar is not okay today. Like even just speaking. Um, yeah, basically what do you want your story to be? Yeah, I guess that's kind of it. But that can also include mysteries as well that I had on the list. Mysteries and unsolved mysteries is kind of cool because, yeah, I feel like that they're like always so interesting. So you're into that, write a story about that. Number 6 is kind of like unsolved crime. So this is more criminal sort of vibes, or kind of like unsolved mysteries, similar to the last sort of means of getting ideas. But this is kind of really fun because if you're into kind of like more, yeah, crime or criminal matters, I feel like this is really, really fun. So look to actual historical events that have happened, look at, news articles where that happened. Maybe it's tied to a particular, like, I don't know, weird religion or like practice or tradition or place. Maybe you can throw in some ghosts, sort of like paranormal vibes. I really, really adore. I love it when, yeah, sort of magic really creates like an opening and sort of like an added layer to a particular story. I think that's so, so cool. I don't know what number we're up to, but I guess we'll go to number 8, which is personal experiences. This is really fun because usually I get inspired to create characters, which is kind of like the next thing I was going to talk about. But characters to me very much are inspired by myself. But in terms with this, yeah, you can just get inspired by, I don't know, yeah, your past events, your trauma. I don't know. That's a common theme for writers if you haven't been able to tell. But yeah, just think about what you want to tell and what sort of personal experiences you've had. And truly you can write like so much on like one particular experience, on one particular feeling that you've had. And it's kind of really eye opening. I feel like it might get a bit exhausting. I kind of, yeah, the way that I write, which is kind of an interesting topic in itself, like apart from this episode, is I write very personally, but my characters in the story are so far removed from reality that there is a sort of barrier. But if you are very brave and want to write maybe like about a breakup, maybe about a childhood love, maybe about, I don't know, the time in high school that you've had, like a sort of autobiography vibe, but make fiction. So of course you rename a lot of the stuff, and the characters and add and tweak a few things, but it's still a really cool way to kind of use your own experiences, similar to like your families and friends, but your own, which is very hard. And if you do have a book idea from that, it doesn't, of course, need to go like all through your life, but that's really brave of you to do, I think. Um, and then the next one was particular characters. Usually my stories start with characters that I make up in my head. I don't know if you're a normal person or not, but I love to create characters in my head. Usually my stories, yeah, start with characters, start with someone that I want to tell the story of. So maybe you've had some sort of need to kind of just like tell a story of a character that you've made up in your head. Usually, I kind of talk about characters as being vehicles of your message or your story. And then the plot and stuff like that is a vehicle for your characters. So it's kind of like a vehicle within a vehicle within a vehicle. I can't speak today. I'm so sorry. But yeah, I feel like that's really, really fun because I don't know. It's a way that you can just kind of like put your your purpose within a character and then show that agency. For example, because this it's hard because I put these into lists when really it's like just like a huge thing of like how to get ideas. So I hope you're following. If you're not, I apologize profusely. But what was I saying? Oh my gosh, please don't tell me I lost it. Oh yeah. Okay, so maybe for example, you're a feminist or something. I don't know, or you just have like this sort of identity thing. And or maybe it's not even your identity. Maybe it's just like a thing you want to explore. Write about that within a character. Make that the character's identity and make the story about this character. Do you see the kind of like jump where it's like your personal beliefs into the character and the character takes them on as their own and it becomes, a whole story about them going through life or going through some sort of thing. And that's your story. And yeah, so you can use a jumble of these different ideas, different means of coming together and creating a new story. I feel like it's very, very fun. And sometimes, yeah, you can't really get ideas. It's not a linear process getting ideas for a book. So yeah, but we will talk a little bit about that at the end. The last thing I have is reimagined stories. So this is really fun. I think this is so specific, but maybe you want to tell Little Women. I don't know, Little Women, but sci-fi. Do you see how that's crazy for your brain? But it makes you think. It makes you think, how can I do this? Like, what would happen? I know like Chris has done this on one of her books. It's kind of like a cyberpunk version of The Great Gatsby or something like that, which is so cool. Chris MF on YouTube. She's another author tuber, but that sort of vibe where it's like taking classics, especially, and like turning it sci-fi or turning it fantasy or turning it into some sort of other means of setting and world building. I think that's just really, really cool. So just reimagine different sort of stories or your favorite story in different contexts. Maybe like, what's that movie called? Something of the Bride? Princess Bride. The Princess Bride. Can you imagine? Ugh, I kind of want to, yeah. Yeah, it just gives you ideas. Hey, yeah, because I, for example, have Robin Hood. I love that story, Robin Hood, or even Red Riding Hood. Those two are like my favorite nursery rhymes slash like mini stories. So like that's what's inspired a couple of my books, literally. So yeah, and they don't even need to inspire like your the premise of your book, but just can become a theme and a sort of structure that you can follow. If that makes sense. But they're all of the sort of list. That's the list that I have for you guys today. Sorry if I was a bit chatty. I really love talking to you guys about ideas because it's so interesting, the psychology. I low-key kind of want to research a little bit more about like how writers get their ideas. And share in the comments, please, like how you got your idea from your favorite book because it's so interesting. Um, yeah, getting ideas. I think I do have a video, and if I can find it, I'll link it in the description if you're on my YouTube channel, where I talk about how I got ideas for all of my books. It's such a fun video. And yeah, it's just like so fun. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. I hope you are able to get new ideas, just kind of like give you some ways that you can pursue stuff. Just listen to some music. I don't know, think about your favorite book. Yeah, think about a personal experience you might have had. You know what I mean? It's just kind of a reflection thing. And yeah, you just got to be patient with it. So I hope you enjoyed. And yeah, I wish you luck with creating that new book of yours. But yeah, I love you all. I hope to see you in my next writing episode. Bye, everyone.